Hello, my name is Matthew Pfeiffer with mattpfeiffercoaching.com. Welcome to my YouTube channel. On this channel, I make videos about toxic, narcissistically abusive relationships. And if you have a question for me that you would like for me to answer on this channel, make sure that you send it to justaskmatt@mattpfeiffercoaching.com. Again, that is justaskmatt@mattpfeiffercoaching.com. Just make sure you keep that email 2 to 3 paragraphs max, and you're very direct and to the point of what your question actually is, because if it's too long, if it's too lengthy, and if I don't understand what you're asking, unfortunately, I will not be able to get to it. Also, make sure you hit the subscribe notification and you hit the bell notification so you're notified each and every time I upload a new video. I upload new videos on this channel 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. So with that being said, let's get into this email. So this email reads, "Hi Matt, thanks for doing this. You are very, very welcome. I recognize narcissistic traits in my mom, and that is very difficult. I've done videos and I've done trainings on being raised by narcissistic mothers. That is very, very difficult. After a couple of years of regular Skype calls with my uncle, I'm starting to see narcissistic traits in him too. Could it be the upbringing, my uncle and my mom, that has given them both these traits? It very well could be." Let's continue on with this email. "They both provoke a lot of negative feelings in me. I try to avoid them as much as possible now because of that. But the more I try to cut ties and avoid them and stay away from them, the more they insist and make demands that I stay in contact." And this is something that is very, very common. So let's circle back, first of all, to how both your uncle and your mother could both have narcissistic traits. Yes, it could be because of upbringing. They both could be narcissists, or maybe neither one of them are narcissists. A couple of things could have happened. Number one, trauma, right? So unhealed trauma can hide itself as narcissism. So people who have a trauma that has not been dealt with can present themselves as narcissists, and that is very, very common. It could be deep-rooted insecurities, or guess what? The same way that you grew up with a narcissistic mom, if they had a narcissistic parent or both narcissistic parents, guess what? You learn from your parents, right? So yes, their upbringing could have taught them narcissistic traits. And what else were they supposed to know? What else were they supposed to learn? And if they did not become self-aware of how their behavior is impacting other people, then guess what? They can continue on with those traits for a lifetime. So with that being said, let's cut to your question in terms of them being insistent on you staying in contact with them. Number one, that is up to you, right? You are the one who determines how much contact you want to continue with these two people, on how their behavior is impacting you. That's 100% up to you. I tell people to be a thermometer, not a thermostat, right? So with a thermometer, when they're up, you're up. When they're down, you're down. But you can gauge the temperature, right? When they are mistreating you, you can turn that temperature down, right? And you create distance. If they're being okay, then maybe you turn that temperature up and you spend a little bit more time with them. But it is very common for people with narcissistic traits to insist on having contact with the person. Here's the reason why. They want to remain in control. Now let's take that one step further, because even though we say this with a lot of narcissists, it's very common for family, period, to do this as well. Why? Because it's a bad reflection on the parent or the uncle or whoever, right? Because there's only one reason why a child would stop contact with a parent or with a family member, right? It's because of mistreatment. And so it's a bad reflection on them. So to preserve their own insecurities and to mask their own bad behavior, it's in their best interest to convince you to remain in contact with them. This is very common. Now, with that being said, just because they want you to remain in contact with them does not mean that you have to. Number two, what I'm hearing here is that you're struggling with emotional boundaries and also mental boundaries, right? You care too much about what your mom and what your uncle thinks. You are allowed to be the villain in the story. They are allowed to think that what you're doing is wrong. They are allowed to have their own feelings and opinion about the fact that you want to create distance with them. They're allowed to. It's very common for the codependent in situations like this, for someone who struggles with people-pleasing behavior, to worry and to be overly concerned with someone being upset with them setting a boundary or creating distance or removing themselves from a situation. They're allowed to be upset. They're allowed to think that you're the villain, right? And you're allowed to disagree with them, right? And that's what good mental and emotional boundaries look like. So thank you very much for writing in. And for those of you who have a question for me that you would like for me to answer, make sure you send it to justaskmatt@mattpfeiffercoaching.com. Again, send it to justaskmatt@mattpfeiffercoaching.com. Make sure you keep that email 2 to 3 paragraphs max, and you're very direct and to the point of what your question actually is. Also, give me some time to get to it. I do get a lot of emails, and I do have a lot of other platforms that I run. And so with that being said, thank you guys very much. Don't forget to subscribe and also hit the bell notification as well. Thank you guys very much. I'll see you guys in the next video.